friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This continues on with our Aserai campaign here. Our channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, but especially advanced battlefield command and tactics in Bannerlord. Now we're going to be focusing on campaign strategy. We're going to be focusing on a lot of the minutiae, some of the what I consider the intellectual enjoyment of a game like Bannerlord in this episode, in the upcoming episodes, as we continue on with our process here of strengthening Wazu, gathering resources here, leveling up characters and whatnot, and forming our future kingdom. Now, before you form a future kingdom, much like building a custom home, which my wife and I are considering, incidentally, that's part of the reason it's on my mind. We're considering buying land and building a home. Before you form a kingdom in Bannerlord, of course, one of the things you want to do is have a plan, right? You want to have an idea of the area that you want to start your kingdom. You want to have an idea, maybe even of a capital city that you want to have to start your kingdom. Because the most important thing, of course, is castles, land, territory. Those fiefs give you troops, those fiefs give you money, and from there, of course, you hope to expand. So we'll do some skills, a little bit of upgrading in this episode and future episodes. But again, I'm going to kind of blaze through these. I will have another episode, probably an episode or two from now, where again we focus on skill points. Now, a little recap of what's going on here for those following this campaign. The Aserai are all over the map here. Even though the Southern Empire is in the way here, these fucking dipshits, incompetent, mouth-breathing motherfuckers are up there sieging. You got another army forming down here by Huss and Folk. Hopefully they siege. Huss and Folk was taken by the XIII. And all the way over here on the other side of the map, which is a difficult part with the Aserai, we are, it looks like, going to attempt to take back a castle over there. The Valandians are impinging hard to the west, and we have sort of a stalemate in the east against the XIII. I say stalemate, although you would say they're winning because they're gathering territory. We have pushed them back a few times in critical battles. Alright, so Thais is sieging, I think that's Barihal castle over there. Barihal is a castle that I'm intrigued at as a potential fief. It is a really interesting, defendable, beautiful looking castle. These kind of quests here, by the way, you just automatically do these when you see them, Art of the Trade. And the reason you want to do quests, of course, most of you guys know this, is that not only are you getting loot and reputation and stuff like that, but the key thing is it opens up more troops, right? When you go to those villages in the future, even 10, 15, 20 years from now, we will get more troops from those villagers because we did some bullshit, fucking fetch some, delivered the herd or some bullshit like that, right? Got rid of some brigands for them, and these guys have an infinite memory. And there's no Alzheimer's, evidently, with clans and villages in Bannerlord. Now this I knew was a problem, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. The XIII are sieging castles here, and I want to help with the Valandian fight out west, so we're just going to have to leave that castle and let it go. There's some chance the Aserai forces out there go to help defend it, but I'm not going to be able to do anything about it, right? You can't be in two spots at one time, and I don't have armies yet, as I will have in the campaign stage, to deal with stuff like that. That is something we're going to cover in great detail, is the future campaign, is how to deal with multiple front wars like this. How do you assign vassals and prepare your kingdom to deal with assault? Look at this. This is optimal, actually. So there's a courier. I think that's how you pronounce it. And look, these dipshit Aserai, of course they got... I'm not sure which one that is. I think that was the Northern Force. They got captured, of course. For some reason or other, they're still fighting the Northern Empire, and the Northern Empire is just decking these troops every time they get up there. What a colossal goat fuck that is. So they're all captured. This is good, though. So this, I think, causes a vote. Let's see here. This is critical, right? We'll be able to basically say, leave our castle alone. Yeah, everybody wants to vote for it. If they want to vote for it, you just don't vote, right? This is a strange process, but you effectively save your influence. It should be a blind system where they don't tell you what everybody's votes are, but alas, that's the system we have. Now we've got a couple three last companions that are still coming back to the army from our loss. If you're not aware of it, we had a battle where we lost three episodes ago. And we're still sort of recovering from that, but we're mostly recovered, right? We now have a full army. In fact, we are getting very close to the stage here where I will start making vassal armies, right? Vassal armies full of troops, and then we will give them to companions and carry them around the battlefield. I'll talk in a minute about that. We're going to continue to go through towns. A lot of this I'll probably skip. In fact, I may be narrating into space right now. A lot of times I'll come back through and edit this. But if there's something worthwhile leaving in here for you guys, information that's being transmuted, I will try to leave it. Sometimes I ramble about important stuff. Sometimes I ramble philosophically. Sometimes I ramble about nonsense, and I will just cut that shit out. Again, we're evening our food. I'm not going to explain that for the 87th time, but you want to always keep doing that, right? Make sure that you have a good amount of all the different types of food. That way your steward skill goes through the roof. Your steward skill goes through the roof and you can gather large armies, right? Numbers equals power in this era. And speaking of numbers, right, let's start making parties with more numbers. I'm also going to make what I call an assassin or a guided missile unit here. What you can do is you can assign a lot of cavalry to one of your commanders, preferably 70 to 100 units. That way they can still fight when they catch stuff. But Arwa's goal, and probably another companion, I may use Wahan the Golden, early on in the campaign will be used to track down enemy armies that are faster than us. But she will also be used to guard areas from raids and run down brigands and stuff like that. The nice thing, of course, is you can simply recruit them to your party at no cost to your influence, right? If you call other nobles to your army, it costs you influence. I can call Arwa at no costs, and then, of course, it frees me up to recruit even more troops. Most of you guys already know this, but this is an essential part of forming a new kingdom. You need at least an army of 500 to really start off. So you're going to have, I think, 3 companion armies, and then yourself. You should be pushing 500, maybe 700, depending on your perks. You might have 700 troops, is my point there. Why do you need that? Of course, well, once we become our own kingdom, we will be assailed from every fucking direction. The Aserai, the XII, anybody near you. Basically, it's like being a weak bitch and walking into a dangerous part of the world. Suddenly, everybody sees you. Look at this shit. This is a disaster. They're being attacked, and they're probably going to get destroyed by Valandians before we can get there. Hecard the Valandians was taken prisoner by looters. I always get a fucking kick out of that. And Barihal is being defended. This is basically an unmitigated disaster here for the Aserai. It really does seem like anywhere that we're not present, the kingdom just falls into decay and debauchery. We can pick up as another companion here. Sometimes your mercenary or your financial companions get dumped into towns. But now you see me recruiting all the troops, right? Why am I doing that? Because we're not far from the vassal stage. Although I should clarify that. We're still picking up horses as well. You're going to see me start to stockpile food and look for a fief to put the food. I don't know the feral camels, if they're worth keeping. We'll skip over them. But you're going to see me pile up fruit and date fruit and beer and stuff like that. Not to the point where we can't move around because we're encumbered. But as soon as I have a fief that has a storage area, you know, one of the stashes or whatever they're called, we will start stockpiling food. We will be the proverbial squirrel piling up nuts because the battles are coming, right? We're going to have war. And let me clarify that point here as I continue to recruit troops. Wazu is not going to be the belligerent guy who declares his own kingdom. I've mentioned this a few times, but in case this is somebody's first episode they're seeing or they haven't heard me talk about it, we're going to roleplay a little bit. We're going to roleplay that Wazu gets complacent, he gets fat, he gets indolent, he gets lazy, and he essentially retires, you know, to a nice fief with his harem and his wife and watches his kids get older and start to come of age. Yeah, of course they got captured. These fucking total disastrous dipshits. I don't know if the Aserai win any battles where we're not there. It's actually very similar to my practice campaign. The Aserai, for whatever reason, they seem to get butchered. I don't know if that's because the AI doesn't use their troops very well or what. We're down to one army here, this Kaban. And he's coming, unfortunately, he's coming to siege a castle that I had my eye on, right? We're hoping, of course, to take a castle or two for ourselves. That way we can get a fief. Maybe Barihal? I don't know. To be determined. I'll try to siege this castle before he does, but this fucking troglodyte. Of course, she's hot on my tails here. This fucking dipshit Aserai troglodyte, Kaban, keeps on following me, taking over the castles that I'm already besieging. Let's see if I get this castle here. Nope. Even if I put all my efforts into it, all Wazu's considerable charismatic and fiscal power, right? His fiscal, do a little intimidation. They still don't give us the castle. So, we got to do something about this Aserai problem. Excuse me, the Valandian problem here, right? It is an Aserai problem. They are just pounding us on the west. They've taken over like half the realm. This guy evidently wants this castle, so I've got an idea. We will try for Barihal Castle instead. Hopefully, we can get that done before this troglodyte comes in and ass jams behind us and then tries to take all the glory. And we're also starting to acquire food here, right? Wazu likes food. We are going to put him to sleep. We're going to need considerable food for him to be able to sit into a castle for 15 to 20 years while I time warp this campaign here. We're not far from that, I would say. Once we sort of stop this Aserai inundation here, I would say we are close to what I would consider chapter 2 of this campaign. This guy's got troops. We're gonna have to dump off some troops here. So I'll explain that while I do a little houseworking. We're working our way over to Barihal Castle. Of course, something else may come up before that, but we're gonna try to siege Barihal Castle. It's a really cool castle for defense, and I'm hoping to get voted it, after we take it in a keep siege here. So, this guy's surprised. Let me explain a little bit about what I'm going to do here. Of course, some of the guys that have been watching this is totally repeat. I understand that in case someone's watching it for the first time. Look at this Aserai realm, right? They are just expanding. It's like a mushroom. And of course, it really does feel like we're on our own, except for this guy that keeps sabotaging our sieges, right? He comes in behind us when we're already sieging. It's infuriating. Of course, you guys deal with it too. He takes control of the siege, and then he takes forever to do it. Finally, they're trying to get peace with the Northern Empire, which is good because we have this dipshit large force of the Aserai. Look at how far north they are. I mean, you guys are lost. No idea what they're doing that far north for some reason or other. We've been at war with the Northern Empire now for months. But we're going to head over to Barihal, and Chapter 2 is coming inevitably in this campaign. What's Chapter 2? Well, if you're not familiar with it, we're going to fast forward this entire campaign, maybe close to 20 years. And the idea is to both create mature kingdoms. Look at this. I can get like 200 horses here. Well, we're going to start loading up. But we're going to create mature kingdoms for Wazu and his offspring to deal with. We're hoping we have a boy eventually. He's already had 2 girls with his wife, Arwa. As a matter of fact, they're due. I think they're due in like a week or so. So we're gonna even out our. We were due in a minute, I guess. Cole, that's got to be a guy. Finally, a guy here for a protagonist. It's not that I don't like women leaders. In fact, like some of the best leaders in medieval history were women. We'll talk about that when we get time, but I'm already interrupting myself here. So we're going to fast forward. We're going to have mature kingdoms, and Wazu is basically going to waste his knighthood, right? He's going to sit in a castle and get fat. He's going to watch his kids grow up as they watch his indolence and laziness, lack of ambition. Basically, Wazu is sort of the stereotypical guy who, once he finally gets rich, acquires assets, an army, a castle, and a harem, he just completely sits on his ass and gains 500 pounds and is content, right? Eats everything that's not moving. That is Wazu, right? And eventually his daughters and sons are going to take over this campaign. And of course, we'll have more companions. It should be a really interesting chapter 2. Now that should happen. I'm watching for Aserai here. We could definitely get counterattacked. Although, they motherfuckers are sieging Salala. That's like one of the biggest cities. And look at, he wants peace with the Northern Empire, but not with the Valandians. Unbelievable. We're going to try to take this castle quickly, but it should be really interesting, right? It's going to happen quickly for you guys. It'll be an episode or 2. It'll probably be 3 or 4 episodes from right now, right? We're going to stabilize the Aserai kingdom, get a couple fiefs, and then we will proceed to chapter 2. And this game is going to take a whole new octave. Wait, that's singing. It's going to take a whole new... Yeah, it's gonna go from very challenging to gnarly, epic challenging, right? Our enemies are gonna have massive armies, tons of resources, and there's probably gonna be some kingdoms that are gone, right? They're 20 years, you get some consolidation of power. Right now, so far, Valandia, of course, Sturge's doing really well, XII, and I think the Southern Empire is the other major force. We shall see what develops over 20 years, and there's RNG to it, right? It's not like the game has wildly unbalanced kingdoms. So I better explain a plan here. We're going to try to flood this castle on the right side over here, but I want to sort of continue that point. This should be an easy castle take, as you can tell from the power bar. So we're just going to blaze through this. When I fast forward things, I am going to be keeping an eye on stuff. I'm not just going to set it to 16 times speed and set Wazu in a castle with a mountain of food and walk away for an hour. I will be checking in and basically trying to make sure that disaster doesn't happen. What would be disaster? I guess like Wazu dying of old age before the campaign gets going, because I think the kingdom actually dissolves. I don't know how that works. Maybe you can turn it over to a companion. Other disasters would be like, let me try to think of what could happen. Well, obviously bugs for sure. I'm going to be keeping an eye on some of the mods we're going to be using to amplify the enemy even further. We're using the Strengthen AI mod, which improves the Lord's skills and stuff like that. It also improves things like how much gold they have. And I've tempered it down a little bit. I've done enough testing that I feel pretty comfortable with it. But I am going to be checking in, sort of almost kind of scouting with Wazu. I might even give him a small army a few times. And I'm not going to record it. I'm just going to wander the lands to make sure that the mods we're using aren't going to bug out the campaign. Right, I don't want to have to save scum. I'm hoping it's a one-shot thing where we just fast forward, and whatever happens, happens. Right, we're going to have some death to some enemy lords because we're using a mod that increases death to enemy lords. I will talk about that more in detail, probably in the episode right before the time warp. We'll call it the chapter 2. The Jarl is going to join the battle up here. His men are getting shoved off. It looks like a debacle already. I don't know if these guys, what they got going on here, but they're not performing superbly. Of course, the enemy has good defensive positioning here. This is almost how we're gonna defend this keep. I wonder if they got any catapults up here. We'll bring the infantry up in a shield wall, and we'll just tell all of the infantry to get up here, all of the archers. We're gonna flood this right side. Well, dude, you got your head in the way of Wazu's javelin throwing abilities. Wazu is a reckless character. He's known for killing people on both sides, right? He's like that quarterback that throws 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Oh shit, we're stuck on the edge. Fuck. Well, okay. You know, Wazu is also famous for not understanding gravity. Of course, nobody really understood gravity in the 11th century. It wasn't until Newton and whatnot. They understood, obviously, you could fall and get killed, but they didn't really understand where it came from or how it worked. And certainly none of the scientific equations. But Wazu especially doesn't understand gravity, so you're going to see him fall a lot. I may even roleplay in battles where lopsidedly winning, where he goes flying off a cliff, and we'll see if we can't kill him. But that would be at the stage where he already has heirs, right? We have now an heir. We have a young boy. Of course, it's going to be years before he comes to age, and that's why we're using this mod, right? That's the other reason. I want some daughters to marry off. I want some... actually, we probably won't marry off a lot of women except within our own clan, right? To other kingdom clans or whatever they're called. When you make your own clan, when you go up to one of your companions and tell them, hey, you know what? You've done so great, you've earned a fief in our kingdom. We're just throwing some catapults here. We should be able to blast through this. Although, what the fuck are you guys doing? Charge. They're just like standing there. I don't know what our troops are doing. I've told them to charge like 3 times. Evidently, these guys, they need some vitamins or something. Maybe they got some scurvy going on here. We'll talk about scurvy. We'll talk about all kinds of historical anecdotes. Hopefully, the episodes speed up. This episode has been a little bit slow. Oh, you know what I got to do? I got to change the little color above their head. I've got these guys set to super low color for allied troops, so I thought that was an enemy troop, and that's one of our guys. But we're also going to use the powerful hero mod, and I want to see how that sort of affects the battlefield and affects the game. The Death for All mod we're going to use, for those curious, it causes a much more realistic rate of death for your nobles. Look at this shit. We're all packed up here on one ladder. You stupid fucks. This looks like one of those frustrating episodes. First, we can't get any battle. Then these dipshits get stuck. I think my horse might be in the way. So let's see if we can't fucking spring some action here. Like I said, Wazu's a little bit of a sadist. He doesn't give a fuck. He'll kill people. We're 500 years still away from Marquis de Sade, but Wazu is his own Marquis de Sade, right? He's the original Marquis de Sade, just without all the sexual perversion. You don't know who I'm talking about? Marquis de Sade. He's basically a highly sexualized anarchist noble, like believed in... Well, anyways, he's a pretty horrendous individual by today's morals and ethics, but obviously he's pretty famous, especially in the 17th, 16th, 17th century. I'm having real problems here. My troops, for some reason, won't move down. I'm trying to just I thought this was going to be a cakewalk. Look at these fucks are guarding the gate. Evidently, my troops are not going to go through the gate. Sometimes this happens in keep sieges. Your guys quite frankly, get bugged. And thank goodness we have an overwhelming force here, because I would be infuriated. Wazu gets infuriated. I would be enraged if we lost this keep siege due to these kind of bugs. But we're not safe-skimming here. We're just going to roll with it, right? This is a very bad situation for us. A lot of people would just be fucking rage-Xing, or whatever you call it, rage quitting, and then starting, reloading a save game. But I'm narrating here. We're just going to roll with it. I got 8,000 dipshits stuck on the ladder here. I mean, they look like those giant fat people you see getting on cruise lines. And it's like, you want to be like, no, don't eat all day. Look at these guys just dead and hanging over the wall here. All right, so finally our cruise line fatties are getting up on the wall here. Come on. And I recognize a lot of those people are American, right? I do recognize I'm an American. I'll probably be a fat cruise liner here down the road. We shall see. But that's what my troops remind me of right now. They're just being insolent. They're being stupid. They're being fucking lazy. You indolent fucking cowardice fucks. I'm going to drag a division around the corner here. I must have killed 50 troops this battle. And we're going to try to get some crossfire here. These crossbow actually are defending that ladder pretty well. And of course my troops evidently are only going to use one axis in this keep siege. Stupid fucks. But we got to stabilize the realm before we do the time lapse. I'm going to stick Wazu in a very safe castle. And for the most part, he's just going to sit there with a retinue of troops. He's going to burn off a lot of cash, right? I might even just randomly roleplay that he goes around and gives money to random Aserai nobles, right? Hoping for some extracurricular activity. And we're going to give away and sort of waste a lot of his inheritance of all this wealth that he's gathered up in the course so far of this campaign. Why are we doing that? Because I don't want to have this campaign be... well, I was going to say easy. It's definitely not going to be easy, but I don't want it to be even moderately difficult. I want it to be very difficult. Now, we're not going to do like what some guys do where they make their character naked and declare war on everybody and then hide in the woods for months. We're going to have a real kingdom. We're going to have money. We're going to be able to recruit troops. We're going to have nice equipment. But making sure that just like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and all the other rich people, they're famous for saying their children will not inherit billions, right? They will inherit some money, but they will have to forge away their own, right? We're going to make sure that Wazu's children don't just live in complete opulence, because frankly, we don't want them to end up lazy and indolent like him, right? We don't want them to be spoiled. We want them to earn their money. People always have more respect for money when they have to earn it themselves, right? All right, so Barihal is taken. We're getting some loot here, but this is all just superficial. We need a big battle here. I'm really craving a big battle for this episode. I have half a mind just to start rampaging on Valandian castles, and if we get captured, we get captured. But we'll see what happens. The Aserai and the Valandians are clearly engaged in a bitter struggle down here. There should be some fighting, and Salala might be the key, right? I don't know what's there. I don't know if that's 500 troops or 1,500. Sorry about that if I just made you dizzy. But we're going to go check out Salala. We're going to take a closer look here and see if this is a real fight. There's a big defense there. So you know what? Like common sense would tell you there's a good-sized Valandian force there. I bet 1,000 plus. So we're going to have a big battle for this episode. And finally, part of me wants to apologize. The other part of me is like, I don't have any control over this, fellas. It's not like I can clap my hands here and Wazu can just make war happen apart from doing suicide shit. We're going to gather up a big army here and see what the fuck's going on here. This courier, or whatever courier, I think they're called. They're like a messenger, ancient messenger. They're coming to offer us peace from the Valandians. Fuck no, we want battle. We've had enough peace in this fucking campaign. Wazu is bloodthirsty because he's money thirsty. Blood leads to money. Hence, Wazu is bloodthirsty by default. Give us this castle, come on. Yeah, we're gonna get it. This is beautiful. Actually, we don't have to vote at all. I'm just gonna ceremoniously vote here. Probably anger somebody. -2. That's probably bad, right, guys? I just angered nobles. Maybe they're mad because I voted like over the top of them. Just WWF trash talked them. Barihal's mine, motherfucker. Yeah, what you say of that, motherfucking gangsters? But it's ours. That's beautiful, because that's going to be an interesting castle to defend against both the Aserai and whatever other forces. Probably Valandia is going to attack it as well. So we'll gather up these nobles here. Hopefully, I'm concerned about this peace message, right? Usually when that happens, it sets off a timer where your kingdom will then make a decision. The last thing I want is all these Valandians to depart in peace after they've ripped up the Aserai frontier. We're going to try to engage here. In fact, I might even engage early. I don't see a message saying, hey, vote for peace. Sometimes it'll even tell you how long the peace is away, like, oh, it's 36 hours away or something. So maybe I have longer than I think here, but we're not going to wait very long. I might wait for the sun to rise and a few more of these nobles to come on in before we get in here. Although even right now, we would have 1,300. There's a lot of defenders in there. I was going to fight an open field battle, but let's just try to defend this. I have very little experience defending Salala. I've done it like a couple times, and it's not an easy keep to defend. So we'll give this a shot here. Of course, we have a massive amount of troops, so it'd be pretty disappointing if we lost. But, I mean, I better not count my chickens before they hatch. Anytime you have this many, look at all these militia, and anytime you only have control over half the army in a castle siege, no idea what's going to happen here. So I go into this with a little bit of trepidation, and I'm going to definitely be concerned until we get sort of a death system built, right? A castle defense to me is like a puzzle. Once you figure out the angles and you come up with a plan to butcher the enemy, then all you gotta do is hit the fast forward button and go find the mistress somewhere, right? We will make peace, we will make love instead of war. Get the fuck out of my way. I might have to start throwing javelins at you bitches if you get in the gangster Wazu's way again. Wazu has got a bad temper. It's very easy to role play that because in real life I've got a bad temper. It's one of the worst attributes I possess as a human being, and so I keep it on a leash, right? Anger is really almost worthless emotion. It's basically there to help us survive in the jungle and kill somebody who's trying to take your bread or take your fucking piece of fruit. You know, it's the warring part of humankind, and obviously it creates the Putins and the other fucking warhawk dipshits that are still fighting in the 21st century. Actually, that makes me more angry than anything, that these stupid Neanderthals are still fighting. It fucking drives me crazy, that dipshit Putin and dipshit Netanyahu. Don't care if I'm offending you. These stupid fuck warhawks, dipshit fucking Taliban and all the fucks in Palestine, the Palestinians and the Jews. Stop fucking fighting before I fucking come in and bitch slap you fucks and remind you that it's the 21st century. War is an old fucking vestige of humankind. We should figure it out by now. You guys can't fucking communicate. I don't give a fuck if you can't speak different languages. Find a translator. Figure this shit out, because it's a disgrace that we're still fighting. It really gives you a worrisome perspective on the human species that, you know, thousands of years into civilization, all these advanced philosophies, and these stupid fucks can't stop fighting. All right, so we just unleashed and vented a little bit into your ear there. I won't apologize, it's just who I am, but it does drive me crazy. You know, we need an outlet for our anger. Well, motherfuckers should have Bannerlord. I've said it before. I'm confident Putin would be like an amazing artist. He would probably be, you know, I was thinking all the different kinds. Putin's probably an impressionist or something like that. He'd be doing some Renoir or something like that. He'd be doing some really amazing paintings if he just had Bannerlord. He could go through, he could be vengeful, just raiding villages and shit, and then he could paint in the evening, right? He could just have his little oligarchic castle somewhere in Russia, play Bannerlord, and he'd probably be a nice guy. He'd be like, you know, how you doing, Mr. Putin? He'd be like, oh man, these sturgeons are giving me a hard time, fucking asshole sturgeons, but I raided their village and it was awesome. Fucking peasants were running every which way, being like, aren't you glad you left Ukraine? He's like, yeah, now I can play more Bannerlord, right? And we can have peace. You know, I just think that we should find outlets for our aggression, MMA fighting or whatever it is. We should have civilized output for our energy, for our anger. For me, it's the gym. I've been weightlifting for 35 years of my life. And I'm starting to spiral downwards, fellas. Once you hit about 50, your metabolism starts to go down some. You get a little belly. All kinds of things, unpleasant things start happening. Your joints hurt like you've never felt before. Muscles harder to gain, muscles harder to keep. All that good stuff, right? And hopefully I didn't just depress half of you guys. A lot of you guys, of course, are let's see, it's 28 to 35, right? That's what the demographics say when I take a look at who's on there. Look at this shit. What a cluster. The guy who's trying to get the catapult bombs to me can't get here because there's just a horde of cruise lining Aserai fucks all overeating. Oh shit. The game just stalled. Oh, we get a little stall. There's thousands of units trying to figure out where to go. We are using, anybody curious? We are using the battle size mod. That is why it looks like, a visit to, a football game or something like that. There's a huge amount of troops on the battlefield right now, probably 2,000, because that's the cap for this mod. So there are troops everywhere. I got troops everywhere because we had a large defense force. There's militia all over the place crowding all the aisles. I've got my troops mostly over here on the left side. And of course the Valandians have approaching 2,000 troops, right? They have a gigantic army assaulting us. All right, so we've ranted a little bit here. We did my little thing about fucking hate warfare in real life. I find it despicable. I find it fucking barbarous. We're going to try to pick up a catapult here. There's no catapult, only that one over there that's like bugged. Damn, I thought this was going to be a honeypot. Looks like that's my favorite death sound in the whole game. I think when the Wicked Witch of the West melts. I might even come up with a name for that eventually because I find that shit so funny. But we got a clusterfuck at this stage. I can't move troops around because there's so many allied troops in our way. And this is one more reason, fellas, to become your own kingdom. I know you've got to have enough strength and experience and money and all the other shit. I could probably become my own kingdom soon, and in fact, we're probably going to. As far as you guys are concerned, it's going to happen quickly. Look at this traffic jam here. You stupid fucks. This is totally like a siege liner. They're just packed on the stairs. Nobody can move. Those guys on the stairs are trying to get to the galley to get food, right? They haven't had their 5 meals today. Only 4. They're hungry. And my troops can't move. They can't move. They're all having seizures, right? It's like diabetic seizures because they've all eaten too much and put themselves into type 2 diabetes. And my game is having little tiny seizures. Hopefully these don't continue. I do realize that's a slight immersion breaker. I try to run the balance here between having the realistic battle size mod on and having a more functional game. This here is just disastrous communication and AI, right? Their troops are in the way of my troops and my troops in the way of their troops. No matter what I do, though, it just seems like they're jammed up. It really does seem like the AI troops are stumbling over themselves. But this side over here I think is going to work. You see I have 3 different tiers of defense. This lower one, the stairs, and this upper one. We can put an infantry square and or shield wall down there in the valley. And then we're going to be able to have the 1st Division in a block, a square probably at the gate, and just rape the enemy with a crossfire. If they attack this direction, they will have to deal with our infantry here. These guys throwing javelins and shock troops and stuff like that. And if they don't, their backs are going to be turned to us. This is a kind of situation where a human player would have a hard time figuring it out, right? If you were on the Valandian side here and controlling, say you were controlling all of their troops, we're going to create a defensive structure here that would be difficult to overcome. I've got a huge amount of troops now that I can command. These are probably, I think how this works in my situation here, I came into the city with an army of like 600, right? There were almost 700 defenders, or maybe there were more than 700 defenders. So I think those 700 are all in control by the AI. So you have all this militia running around doing whatever they want, and most of them, of course, are getting laid on their back. They're getting crumpled, trying to shoot at the enemy outside there. The Aserai is fighting over here. I can hear people yelling behind me, and they have a bunch of guys at the gate, but they're barely accessing the gate because you can see all those troops down there. Almost all of those troops, you can actually see which are which, right? Our side of the elite ones towards the back there, I just highlighted them. And the allied AI here, if that's what you want to call it, here it's almost like an enemy. It's just in my way. What a fucking irritating. Those are all... Oh, I almost killed you, dude. We're going to have to turn this color up. I apologize. Yeah, you see, that's an allied troop. I almost smoked that guy. Those are all fucking allied AI troops. I can't make them move. They're just in the way. The only thing I can do is what I did in the earlier siege and just blow them up. I'm not going to do that here. I might speed this battle up a little bit. I've got the RTS mod, right? We can speed this whole thing up. But again, my strategy here is to blockade this side. The Valandians are rallying a bunch of troops here. We are going to block this side. We're going to have archers down there with javelin throwers, basically pounding any enemy that comes this direction. I'll have to watch this upper area because this is one access the enemy has to these troops, but I will simply stick a different square on that rampart. Meanwhile, over here, look what's setting up. I've got this 4th Division with lots of javelins down here. They're in a 6 shield wall, 4 deep, guarding this ladder. This ladder, and above me in 3 tiers are archers. In the center there, I've got a huge amount of troops. In fact, I'm going to be dividing that. That's just so many troops. It's like 100 and something. Our army is so big here because we're using Aserai forces. You can do this in the vassalage stage if you have enough influence, of course. Most of you guys know this. You can basically just gather a huge army of Aserai. 200 troops. Let's split that some. So the 3rd Division is above us there. We'll put some troops up there. I do a lot of balancing and keep sieges like this. I've decided I'm just going to use that little division process. People ask me all the time what that is. I didn't know what it was for like a year and a half of playing this game. It's F3, F5. It's kind of a strange command. And of course, Tailworld's communication is some of the worst I've ever seen. They don't tell their players, or maybe it's in the user manual, and like most people, I don't read the user manual. We're getting a few more stalls here, but they don't have a lot of archers on the wall also, so we can start to stick archers up here on the wall, assisting this militia. I can get a big long line of troops right there where I ran through, and that'll be one more way we can rain death down on the enemy in that courtyard. Over here, I don't know if they're bugged out or just trying to gather 100 troops there before they charge, but it's odd. They have a lot of troops there, and they're showing no interest in aggression at us. So we shall see what happens here. I've got troops galore, though, and now we really do. I was mentioning earlier, it's not a kill box. Kill box is more of an open field tactics where you're surrounding the enemy, but we have a death chamber here, right? We have a death machine. I've used sort of different words like that. It's basically where you have a device, a defensive positioning where it doesn't matter what the enemy does. They could have 10,000 troops or maybe 5,000 troops and we would still win, right? Our defensive structure here is going to be savage. Right now, they're still cutting through the Aserai militia, so they're not even getting to us. The benefit of that, though, is I have all the time in the world to position troops at just the right spot. All the death sounds. The Valandians are sending troops up, but they're sending them a trickling. They're coming up like 5 at a time, fighting at the margins here of the battle. This fucking dipshit getting in my way, absorbing all of my fucking javelin shots. Fucking asshole. All right, so I think this is pretty close to set up here. Let me do a little refining here. And honestly, at this stage, we want the enemy militia killed, right? Because at this, they're just stalling us, right? Once I get these archers set up, all the tangents and angles set up, this castle defense is over. I know that sounds cocky, almost arrogant. I've just done a lot of castle siege. I know what I'm doing. I've got another archer division on the other side over there that's going to be enfilade fire. My wife is over here smoking people. This is a great situation for us. And now we just wait, right? I'm going to speed it up here. In fact, I'm going to get a little drink. Got to keep my voice, my voice for you fellas here. I used to be afraid to do that shit. All right, so now we can start to form these guys in a square here. I used to be afraid to drink like right in the middle of an episode because I'd realized they can hear me drink. Well, you guys know I'm fucking a human with all the normal things. I haven't farted yet in an episode, right? I'll try not to do that, but I'm flesh and blood like you fellas and just narrating this, so I'm prone to all the mistakes and stuttering, mumbling. You're a lying, low-life, muttering, stumbling, fucking. That's a little bad Joe Pesci impersonation. One of the classic movies of all time, Casino, where he's like a total gangster. Wazu definitely wishes he was Joe Pesci, right? That's his idol. Look at this, it's beautiful. We just get to pick up javelins, and the death chamber, I think, is arriving. Who the fuck just hit me? I didn't know you could get your own troops throw into your shield like that. I think that was one of our troops. Where else could it have come from? And look at this shit. First, watch the death spam. It's, 8 to 1, 10 to 1, something like that. I don't know, maybe it's not that good, but it's very, very green. We're gaining levels like crazy, and all I hear is mass death as the enemy gets raked by our archers, right? They're just firing away. Those guys are in the first division, are in a square there, and I can just have fun here, right? I have target practice. Now, the enemy's fucked here. Why? Let's kick some guys. The enemy cannot do anything here. If they charge our fourth, we could charge them with the first and trap these guys. If they don't charge, they're shot. If they kind of split and charge both, they'll just get slowly whittled down. No matter what they do here, they are dead men. The other side, the other stairs are covered. These are dead Valandians. There's nothing they can do but die, right? They're absolutely scorched. My wife is gaining levels here. I'm hitting guys in the fucking chest with javelins. We can actually drag this other archer division over to the other... Oh, shit. I was going to get over to the other side here. This lord, she's just begging to be made an example of, right? We're going to beat the shit out of this gal here. She's totally getting fucking mangled. And now we'll drag this archer division up these stairs to the other side so we can get even more enfilade fire on the enemy. Now, they're actually doing a good job there, but I want to get most of my troops protected on the other side. They could get attacked there. We're going to do some more dividing here. The square at the gate is starting to break down a little bit. We'll just give them some more troops, right? We have all these resources, all these scrub militias we can borrow from. You guys can guard over here in a shield wall, not a wedge. There we go. All right, so drag this 8th Corps to the other side here. And I think it's going to be time for another drink. Now it's 10-1 death spam. Right now it's just massively green as our archers rake. Maybe it's 15 or 20-1 death spam. And it's going to get worse, right? We just lined up more archers. So even if they charged over here, they would be completely charging the lion's den. And this battle's over. I can go slap some bitches around there at the gate. Get a little bit more weapon skill for Wazu, because Wazu understands that the stronger he gets, the more death he kills, the more death he causes, the more loot and shit and EXP and all the other things. Ultimately, Wazu wants that money, and he knows that by killing people, we get more of it, more loot, all that stuff, right? You have to share loot with your ally. We don't want these militia getting any loot. Fuck that. We're gonna get some loot here, kick some guys insolently, and live happily ever after. Now, I'm a little mindful that this keep siege is going a little bit rough. We're starting to suffer some deaths, so I'm partly doing this to make sure that this happens, right? The enemy flees. How fucking beautiful is this, right? Just a pounding of the Aserai. And I know some guys are going to put in there, hey, just auto-resolve. Oh, shit, I think I just fumble-fucked. I fumble-fucked a command. My fucking keyboard's moving on me. Fuck. No. I just totally finger-fucked like 3 commands there. Hold on. Fuck. My keyboard slid a little bit on my table, and I'm trying to fucking recover. Sergeant's in charge. Shit, now I gotta look down at my keyboard here and try and recover. What a mess. I think the siege is over, but I got a mess on my hands here. Let's see if I can recover this shit. You have a mess. Yeah. Apologies here, fellow, for the mess at the end of this. I think it shouldn't matter, but I've got troops now redivided. The AI very briefly took over, and that's a big no-no. Kill them all. You don't want to hit F6 right in the middle of a battle at this stage, because suddenly the sergeants are in charge, right? And it regroups your units. I got to figure out where the enemy is here, and we can try to make a concerted effort here to finish off this siege. It does look like the majority of them are piled up at those ladders over there, so we will go ahead and make a concerted attack on them now. Let's grab this infantry division. Let's just head out there. I think if I can control these infantry divisions and then get archers spread out, those dipshits on the wall are going to get scorched. Now, unfortunately, there's still Valandians here at these different, whatever you want to call them, archer defending spots. God, what a mess I've made of this episode. I'm going to try to cut through some of these guys. So a little bit of an ignoble finish here to it. I mean, I guess there's some chance we lose. It says there's 480 infantry over there, and of course they're all piled up on those ladders. So very messy here towards the end, but we should be able to recover. In fact, I see some of these archers routing. Obviously, now we're going to be able to start getting big, long, spread out lines of archers, and those infantrymen with no archer support are going to get cooked. Of course, if they do attack, we'll simply retreat back inside the keep here. They got some guys attacking at the margins here, but for the most part, they're just lined up like pigs to the slaughter. I'm going to try to stay back. I just looked down at my health, and I have a tiny little sliver. Of course, Wazu is really tall, so I got to do a lot of ducking in situations like this. There could be an errant crossbow shot, and the next thing you know, we're scorched. I've got one infantry division still inside the castle, still inside the city. They're going to be attacking. And then, of course, now look at all these archers spread out. And click, 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 right? Mass death there. The Aserai are piled up. Even if they charge us here, they're going to be cooked. There's one infantry division covering one of their sides. And now we could just fully envelop them here, right? They're not paying me any attention. In fact, there's no risk. I don't see any archers, so we can just surround and destroy these guys. So, a little bit of an ignoble finish to this episode. But you know what has happened here? We have won, right? These guys are slaughtered. Let's go ahead and get these infantry divisions pushed away from the enemy. That way all of these archers won't have anything in their way, right? It'll just be nothing but the enemy to shoot. In fact, it looks like they just routed, right? Let's kill every single one of these guys here before they can get away. And indeed, the enemy is fleeing. We have won the battle. So a very unusual siege defense. Sometimes I don't include, sieges in this campaign because they're quick or messy. Or because they're easy, but this will be one I probably upload just because it was interesting, and of course it's a pivotal moment for the Aserai, right, in this campaign, being pushed in here by almost 2,000 Valandians, and even though obviously we had a very large defense force, victory is still victory, even if you have to blunt it out, just like Ulysses S. Grant in the American Civil War, where he just kind of shoved his way through the various different stages of the Battle of the Wilderland against the superior general and Lee. Here, we are ultimately successful. Now, I'm kind of trying to speed some of these parts up here. I do look for good loot. Guys want to see what kind of good loot we get from big battles, so occasionally you'll see me glance. We're actually getting a little bit of an auto-resolve. Let's see if we can capture some of these guys before they split. You guys stand still. You're a fucking dead man. It always seems like there's one of them that's stunned like a duck. They got stung, slapped over the top of their head, and they're just wobbling about. So come with us, Calatilde. Calatilde, fucking stupid name. Do some more upgrades here and try to get our bearings in this campaign, right? Obviously, that was a huge win for us here in this campaign. The music sounds celebratory here as the Valandians go scurrying away. You still have this fucking troglodyte, fucking hermaphrodite, dipshit fucking donkey of a Aserai leader here taking weeks to siege down a little castle. What a painful process that is. I mean, it's disastrous. But it is what it is, right? The AI is rarely brilliant, and here it's being exceptionally dumb. All right, well, that was a bit of a struggle, but I think this is probably a good spot to leave this episode. I realize this is probably going to be just short of an hour. Sometimes that's going to be the case. If there are certain points in the battle or not a battle, but a campaign where it feels like a natural point for me to break the campaign, even if it's sometimes over an hour or a little bit under an hour, we're probably going to do so. Squeezed a lot still, I think, into this episode. And of course, a very pivotal battle here, not taking back, but defending the city of Salala. So, with all that said, of course, you want to subscribe. If you want to see more episodes from this campaign, please hit that like button, fellas. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time. Well, I took a little piss there and decided to fight a few more battles for this episode. However, a lot of this I have added in the narration afterwards. That's because it's not all that exciting. When you have 900 troops in your army and you're attacking forces of 150 inside a castle, especially a level 1 castle, these are rather largely formalities. So I'm talking over my previous narration here. This was just a castle that, was obviously a choice for being retaken, right? We stomped the shit out of the Valandians. We started to take back territory, and so it was only natural that after we destroyed their main force in that pivotal battle, we would start to take back castles before the Valandians were able to rally troops, right? Speed is one of the most important factors in Bannerlord, and what I mean by speed is all elements of speed, right? Your troops, in this case, right, rushing troops up into the castle. It's very important, though, on a campaign map to have a cognitive plan, to have an intelligent, cohesive, intelligent plan for strategy, right? And that is a big distinction. A lot of guys wonder what the fuck is tactics and strategy. Tactics, of course, is your your on the field movement of troops to perform a goal, usually a strategic goal. Strategy is usually seen as the overall picture. So our strategy in this campaign, of course, is to start a kingdom, eventually proceed from there, and we're going to hopefully win battles to keep our kingdom intact through tactics. So a very easy siege here. We suffered minimal casualties. I just showed you sort of bits and pieces of it. I'm still unsure how much I'm going to show in the future for sure. I'm just going to tell you, you know, we took this castle, we took that castle. Early on here, though, we're going to try a few different things, including this sort of after narration. So I'm literally just watching with you, just commenting on what we did, right? After that battle, one of my goals was to start heading east to start to deal with XII, right? Valandia is quelled, or at least for the moment, we've taken 3 castles back. We stopped their assault on Salala. Here, of course, these stupid nobles wouldn't vote the castle for me. A lot of this has to do also with proximity. So it's proximity, the amount of influence you have, the amount of gold you have, and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different factors that go into it. Now, the Southern Empire declared war on us. The Aserai declared war on the Southern Empire, and almost immediately the Southern Empire begged us for peace. Kind of curious. I'm not really making major decisions when it comes to stuff like that in this campaign yet. Influence is... And I learned this later on. It just shows my ignorance here. And by the way, we're just speeding through some of this, running around to villagers, gathering troops as we head east. But influence is one of those things that I didn't realize at this point. You lose all your influence when you form a new kingdom. It goes to 0, I'm almost certain. And so what that means is that in this vassalage stage, we are free to spend influence, right? I could be trying to swing these castles and whatnot. But in most cases, even if you apply all your influence to try to take a castle, right? You have 3 different options, 20, 60, and 100. A lot of times you still can't sway the other nobles to give you a castle, which makes sense, right? There are not a lot of things in Bannerlord that make perfect sense, but that sure does, right? It would be very difficult as a new vassal to a kingdom to persuade all the fellas, hey, I'm going to use all of my charisma and all of my possible, Jedi tricks here to convince you guys to give me a castle. If they're opposed to it, obviously you're not going to be able to control them. Now, elements like charm may affect that. I don't know the deep inner workings of the game. That's why I was a little perplexed. People wanted to see me run a full campaign. I presume people want to see me run a campaign because of the strategic and tactical side. In those 2 areas, I think I can help you guys the most. A lot of fellas are like, I just became a vassal, or I just became my own kingdom. Now what? I'm getting my ass kicked from every direction. Hopefully in those areas, I will be able to help you. Earlier in this episode, in these battles, I talked a little bit about forming armies, becoming your own kingdom, how to deal with multiple front wars and stuff like that. And I will get very deep into the weeds on that once we start the campaign, right? I want to have actual situations to explain to you instead of just coming up with theoreticals like, oh, you do this and you do that. Most people learn visually, and so we will wait for that actual process before we start doing the advanced parts of strategy. And there are advanced strategies possible in Bannerlord. The caveat is that your allies are highly unreliable. So when you make these kingdoms and you start assigning, previous companions to be leaders of clans, they are going to act like dipshits. This entire time that you play, not the Aserai, but a kingdom in Bannerlord, you will have dipshits in your kingdom and have to deal with it. Now, while all this was happening at 2 different locations, we were attacked by the XII. They actually took back Erzanur Castle, or however you pronounce it. They took that, the one that I wanted to defend, and they took Odrissa. And with all of that said, now I think I can let the previous narration take over here, do a little editing, and hopefully it's fairly seamless from your perspective. Fucking asshole. XII fucking motherfuckers. Manchug. Let's give these guys a beating here. We're going to recruit all our troops here. This is going to be an outside battle, though. I recognize some guys don't want to see me fight every single battle from inside a citadel, so we're going to fight these fucks in the open. We're going to fight like men here. We're doing this to roleplay a little bit. That Wazu's not afraid. Wazu likes to fight in the open. He's intimidating. He's 7'1", 370 pounds, 7'2" maybe, with his shoes on, with his slippers or whatever the fuck he's wearing. So we're going to fight in the open here. Now I'm going to do a few second upgrades here. We'll recruit all our prisoners, and I might stall just a little bit more because Wazu, like a lot of people who act with a lot of bravado, it's a little bit of a veneer, right? We're going to use some common sense here. We're going to let the garrison whittle them down a little bit. He's actually looking over his shoulder to see if there's any troops coming. You know, like, we're brave, but is there anybody else coming? Commander, Captain, do we have any reinforcements? No? Okay. Well, we'll just fight then. You know, we're role-playing here that Wazu is brave, but he's also human. He's already been captured and fighting the XII in the open field. This may be a challenge. Of course, every once in a while I'll mention we're on the hardest difficulty here, Bannerlord difficulty, and the enemy has mods that make them even stronger. So it'll be interesting. We shall see. Let's see, I got to rearrange some of these divisions. We are using the battle size mod, so these are going to be titanic battles. Incidentally, fans of RBM, I'm probably going to start doing a handful of battles in RBM, and I will probably select and edit the best 4 in an episode, probably the next one, although I can't promise anything. For fans that want to see me stream, incidentally, as well, that's going to happen, but I just don't have time. All of November was wiped out. I didn't have a single time. My wife and I, again, we are looking at land. We are talking to builders for a home and stuff like that. Life must come first. But I do promise that in this campaign, we will do some streaming. Fortunately, it's going to be at a later stage of this campaign. I say fortunately because we won't have these sort of gimmicky, easy battles that are really diminished by the fact that we're fighting with AI. Now I have this water here, and I think there's some slopes here that I can use for our advantage. Of course, the divisions, I try to cover them as often as I can. 1st and 6th is infantry. 4th and 5th are archers, including, well, it would normally be a crossbow division, but our army is pretty weak, right? We got captured, and a lot of our crossbow got captured in our loss. The 5th is standard archers. Again, the 1st is standard infantry, and I like to assign them a spear and a shield, the little pole arm and the shield. And what that does is that makes those guys more of your regular infantry, right? Guys with a shield and a pokey stick. And then the 6th division is skirmishing infantry. I think we can also introduce this too. Let's see what it looks like. We can do a little shock troop division. Yeah, there's enough shock troops that are pulled out of that first that it's going to work. So what I'll do with the shock troop division, I'm going to zoom in here and see if any of these, a lot of these guys have no shield, right? We have a pretty weak army here. We might even lose this battle, right? That's the suspense for you fellas. I don't know what's going to happen. I stream these live, so to speak, right? I play these live. So the cavalry, I like to put the cavalry in front, especially against the Aserai. I think I'll run 3 different cav divisions here. I like to have at least 2 cav divisions for versatility, and against the XII with their horse archers, I like to be able to trap them. So I think we'll run 3 horse divisions. I got to get a little creative though. I'll typically do the 2nd, 7th, and 8th. And then archers behind, although look at these slopes. I think we're either going to be rushing up to that lake / pond or whatever, the marsh, or we'll be moving back behind this slope. We'll kind of have to see where the enemy is, and I'll determine that in real time. Now we're pretty close to the back of the map, but it is what it is, right? We're not going to be hiding and shivering with fear in the corner of the map from the XII. We're going to fight them like men. But sometimes inadvertently, like this map, we're going to be, we're starting at the very back of the map, so there's only so much I can do about that. In a perfect world, I'd love for the XII to be able to circle me, and get around us. It would almost make sense that the XII had a little tiny buffer where they were basically allowed to run behind you, even though it was outside the edge of the map, and you would not be able to prevent them from that, even though that would feel kind of gimmicky. All right, so 2nd and 1st divisions are defense, 3rd and 6th are attacking divisions, as well as probably the 7th and 8th. The 7th and 8th are over here on the right flank because I plan on baiting these horse archers. Depending on where they go, we're going to bait them in, circle around, and try to trap them, right? Try to limit their movement. That's the key to killing horse archers, is a combination of archers, your own archers, a defensive front like we're forming here with the 1st and 2nd. And then, like I said, we will try to slow down their movement and attack them, counterattack them with cavalry. If they're dumb enough to charge our cavalry, our 3rd division full of shock troops is going to be very eager to apply their maces and axes to the face of the XII. I just realized, too, that's a unit that the game needs to have. Future modders, if you guys are listening, or Tail Worlds, if for some reason there's a guy that works at Tail Worlds watching my episodes, that seems impossible. Please make a Sturgeon Tier 6 foot troop. Get rid of the Drudzinic champion, get rid of his horse, or maybe you could have a horse, but make him weak at riding a horse, make his horse die right away in combat, and put these guys on foot with a 2-handed mace. Give these guys a mace that looks savage, like a unique mace. Maybe a mace that's hard to find, and then Make these guys total beast two-handed motherfuckers that do have a sword and a shield. Give them javelins, in fact, or throwing axes. Give them an axe, a shield, and throwing axes, and then give them a two-handed hammer and just have them clobber guys to the ground, like knock guys all over the place. That would be an amazing change to the game. I think almost everybody laments the fact that Sturgia kind of looks like they're supposed to be an infantry kingdom, and there is no tier 6 infantry unit in the game. I think that is sorely missing. All right, so the XII charge right into the trap. They're all pushed up against this ridge where they're being cut down in this is reverse slope decline. They can't get over and shoot our guys till they come over it, and when they do, they get hammered with bolts, javelins, arrows, etc. Now behind them, well, they're kind of cutting at an angle I hadn't anticipated. We now have cav that are going to definitely slow down a lot of the guys trying to escape. And of course, our guys are pounding them with javelins, and we've got 80 horse archers here making a dent in their lines too. They do have some cavalry here, but it's small, right? We're going to start to pull our cavalry away from there. I said cavalry. They have some infantry, but it's small, right? We're going to pull over this ridge into the teeth of our defense here, and then we will hammer and anvil their infantry. I've got the first, third, and sixth is infantry, and you just get creative with it, right? We're going to start sending the horse archers to the side here, and what we will try to do is kill this noble bitch. Of course, again, I reiterate, these nobles, and I'm not going to mention this every single episode, but they have 300 to 500 hit points at this stage. These nobles are going to be tough, right? Look at her. She's getting stabbed. I've already hit her with a javelin or two. She just won't die, right? It's going to be really interesting fighting these uber nobles. And again, I won't mention it over and over again, but that comes from the Strengthen AI mod and the Powerful Hero mod. All right, so we're bringing over the 6th. We're going to back up a division here. I'm basically creating a death chamber for this infantry division that's coming up, this XII force. And now we have cav coming in on their left flank, right? It's a death sandwich for them, right? This infantry line is told to charge and pinge on their right flank. My cavalry's coming in on their left, and they will be swallowed up and killed. They're going to get some kills too. They have dark hands and high-level troops in here. I actually see high-level Imperial troops. They kind of have it all, but the death spam says it all, right? They also have a lot of mediocre troops, footmen and whatnot. That's a nice balance I've found with the Strength and AI mod. If I haven't at this stage, I will be releasing an entire episode that talks about the settings you should use in order to effectively replicate this campaign. If you want an extremely difficult campaign with the similar type battles and battle size and stuff like that, I will be giving you fellas a full campaign episode that basically covers, how to set yourself up with this kind of a gnarly campaign with very tough enemies. But balance too, right? We're not fighting entire armies of Khonsguards, which would be stupid. We would lose. But what we're fighting is armies that are significantly upgraded and harder than vanilla, but not so much that it just obliterates us to the seas, right? So far so good. Again, we're holding defensive lines here. A lot of this is fairly basic and hopefully replicatable for most of you fellas out there. I understand we're using 8 divisions, and I've talked about the span of control before. You must have a pretty good idea where your units are. I recommend you practice with 4, 5, 6 units, but at this stage, the enemy is charging over a hill into the teeth of our archer fire. We've got nasty infantry countering their cav. Their horse archers are largely rendered ineffective by the slope of that hill. I don't know if you can see it, fellas, but behind me here, there's just a big slope. You see what I'm looking at there? This sand dunes makes it hard for their horse archers to shoot. Now we take the offense, right? Our infantry is actually already boring in. We have huge divisions because if you remember, we were basically equal numbered with the XII here at the beginning of this battle. We had more infantry. They had more cav and horse archers. And now our heavy infantry is boring in on their units. Even better, it's in the marsh, right? When you have numbers, you don't want their guys to move around. The infantry is swallowing them up over here, and we will start to drag cav and horse archers around to the enemy's left. Again, always taking the advantage to flank. They do have a remarkable amount of recruits in this XII force, but so do we, right? If you look at our army, there's plenty of guys running around with the bathrobes and that little, it looks like a fucking sweatband, like they just went to the gym and did a workout, and then they have... I need to learn the names for these, I guess, if we're going to play the Aserai culture, but it's effectively looks like a little hood with the sweatband around the top of it. Those are obviously our recruits. All right, so the 7th and 8th Corps around the enemy's side here. That means the horse archers are shooting into the back of all these poor peasants, and now we might as well run our heavy cav right through here as well, right? We're just going to completely destroy and eviscerate this XII force because the name of the game at this stage is still efficiency, right? We want to take some castles and cities here. These fucking guys are tough, man. I need a better weapon. Wazu feels like a bitch, right? These are tier 5 units, but I don't seem to be able to kill them when I want to. I'm used to characters who kill the enemy when they want to, and with this one-handed weapon, I feel kind of weak. So I might start looking into a two-handed weapon, maybe a fast two-handed axe that blows up shields or something like that. But that's frustrating for me, to just be swing and block and swing and block, and you can't really do a lot. I'm used to, you know, some pretty savage characters from other campaign. Man, look at that armor. I scorched that guy 24. That was a Consguard. I hit him right in the head at like a full gallop, and it barely hurt the guy. Again, that shows you how weak this sword is. This sword is really short. I'm probably going to search for a little longer, a little bit slower, more damaged sword. But enough of my bitching here. Victory is still victory, and just like that guy said, we whipped the bastards here. You know, we had 60% of our troops left. Very few losses for us. Not one single companion went down, right? How beautiful is that, right? All these guys are leveling up. It's a slow leveling process. I don't know if we're going to be able to get companions in this campaign to level 40, but they're certainly going to see a lot of warfare, right? Now, that's a caveat too. We're going to fast forward. A lot of these companions are going to die of old age, right? They're going to be sitting in a castle with Wazu for 18 years. All right, so we'll take a few prisoners here. That stage, by the way, is probably a couple episodes away. I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm counting up the episodes, and it looks like there are going to be about 15 episodes before Wazu goes to sleep. And I think that's appropriate, right? It's a nice round number, or roughly a round number, half a round number, for sort of the first chapter of this campaign. Again, to reiterate, we're going to have multiple chapters from the perspective that this first stage is going to be sort of the training wheels, kindergarten, you know, fighting smaller battles. And that was a small battle compared to what we're going to see later on. There will definitely be, you know, 2,500 against 3,000 and shit like that. This gal's just sitting here for us to capture. Come with us, right? We're going to take all these fucks prisoner. But we're going to have a much gnarlier stage of this campaign, probably in 2 or 3 episodes from you now. So if you're watching now and you're a little bit bored because we're chasing after 8 guys here, I'm going to try to trap this guy. Is this Monchug? Motherfucker trying to take off. It is. Motherfucker's trying to escape here. I don't think we're going to be able to catch him. He's moving around at a blazing clip on his horse, running like a coward. Even if I let all these nobles loose, unless someone comes from the other direction, then we won't be able to trap him. But that's all right. That's all right. We still devastated the Khazate there. Don't run off there, wife. I need more kids, right? We need to do some more impregnating. We're 3 kids in. I don't remember if she's pregnant right now, but either way, we need to continue to create heirs for Wazu. We did finally have a son. And so the future is being laid now in the stones of fertility. I think, oh, look at this. This is beautiful. I'm going to wrap this episode up, but we just hit another clear clan tier. I'm getting all tongue-twisted here. We get another companion. We get lots more troops. Wazu's army is starting to become pretty large, right? And maybe it's going to look something like his dreams. So I know I've already said it for this episode. It's going to be kind of edited and weird, but thanks again for watching, fellas. Of course, you want to subscribe if you want to see more episodes from this campaign. I appreciate you, fellas. We should have episodes, at least 2 or 3 a week. Please tune in. I appreciate you guys following the campaign. It makes it interesting for me as well. With all that said, fellas, I will see you guys next time.